Tuperas y tuperas! Today on Dupe by the River, we're looking back at two matches that we had this past week. Cincinnati this past Saturday, and of course, the Philadelphia Union punched their ticket to the CCL semifinals after taking care of Atlas. We're going to look at that match as well as look ahead to this upcoming Saturday as our boys in blue will be in Chicago. And don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get it started, guys.
Dupe by the River.
Doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, and we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of Dupe by the River, I want to welcome everyone onto today's episode. Whether you're coming in live from El Paraso Philly's YouTube channel or Dupe by the River Twitter account, thank you so much for tuning on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for all your future viewings of Dupe by the River, and follow us here on Twitter, Dupe by the River Podcast. Our guy, Tim Lovinguth, has the best game day coverage out of the entire MLS. So make sure you guys are following on there. We are available on podcast streaming sites as well. Find us under Dupe by the River Podcast. And on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my expert in duping, Justin Quick Red Rocha Friedberg. Man, that was a quick red card. Justin, how you feeling, brother? What's going on, man?
You know, pretty good. Listen, I told myself I wouldn't probably not be up for the game. I was right. I fell asleep at 9:30. However, as I've been sleeping just great these days, woke up around 11:30 or so, caught the last like 20 minutes of an eventful game. But yeah, it's been I would say an eventful week, at least an eventful last few days, because there's definitely more to learn about this past game than there was the prior one. But it's another. The narratives are writing themselves with the way this season's been so far going, and God, I can't wait for it.
Absolutely, man. We'll get to Atlas and to Cincinnati as well, but definitely a good week here. For Philadelphia soccer, of course, man. Throw them W's right now. Our boys are on to the next round. We appreciate you coming in here on Raynell. Real quick, I think we have to do our due diligence and kind of just touch upon, the circumstance that went down with our rivals up north with the Red Bull and Dante Vanier, or Vanzier, whatever. It doesn't even matter, I guess, at this point. But obviously, I think everyone in the MLS world knows what happened last Saturday. Jeremy Bobasi from San Jose got into it with Dante. The word was said. We don't need to alliterate what word was said. It had something to do with race. And so the shit show that was in that match, Supar looks like a bigot as well. Carlos Coronel, our former backup, looks like what he's supposed to be doing as a human being. And then you get this whole like wishy-washy statements from Red Bull, and now you get like a 6-game suspension with fines, which I mean that's really not. I don't think that puts a dent in it. But Justin, we've always been vocal here on this podcast about social issues like this. Your thoughts on what the Red Bull kind of brought down on whatever that was on Van Zier.
It's a fucking joke, is what it is. So if we're equating this. Saying a racial slur is only worth 2 more games than kicking a ball into the stands and hitting a fan. But if a fan said the same slur, you'd probably be talking about at least like a year ban from the stadium. And it's really a fucking joke. I mean, the fact that it took them a few days to even issue a statement, and then it took Gerhard Struber that much longer to then issue with like a wishy-washy statement. It's an absolute joke. I like MLS. Like if you're really committed to this kind of change, you would have at least helped to slap down no less than 10 games. And I know a number of Red Bull fans who don't want to see Van Zier anywhere near this for a long time, and even talks of Gerhard Struber's head, because like the fact that they waited 20 minutes, and the reason why there was 20 minutes of stoppage time was because San Jose, they were demanding he get subbed off. Like Jeremy Bobasy wanted to fight him. Jonathan Mensah was good. Like there were several players right in that vicinity who absolutely, if they had fought him, they would have gotten more games than Van. For it, it's an absolute joke. And rightfully so. That a lot of I've been listening to morning the Golazzo Network on Paramount Plus, and
How was that, by the way?
there's been a few shows. Our boy Alexis, our pal, Mr. Alexis Guerreros is morning footy correspondent, which I love to see. Shout out to Alexis. He's been killing it. He's been doing pretty good. I've been watching it the last few mornings, and he's doing a good job. But they also have a live show around 1:00, and they had the former NYCFC color commentator Ian Paul Joy, and he made a good point early on where he just goes like he would have gotten suspended Van Zier for an insane amount of games. The fact that Gerhard Struber hadn't even made a comment, he said at the time, was an absolute joke. It disappoints me because, like, not that I thought the Red Bull, organization as a whole stood for anything, but it kind of it just makes me think that they just genuinely don't give a shit about any of their players of color. And I've said, like, if that were a player in Philadelphia, I'd want him the fuck out of Philadelphia that night. Like, he wouldn't even finish halftime, and it just blows my mind that 6 games is all he gets. Two more games than kicking the ball into the stands at a fan. That's just disgraceful.
I mean, I brought that up as well. Like, when you look at it from our point of view, I know we always try to do that. Like, we are truly blessed. Like, I think of this club over the past couple of years. I mean, you think back to the George Floyd situation in 2020, the Black Player Coalition was started. Dude, Gaddis, McKenzie, Warren Craval, big parts of that engine that was the Black Players Coalition. You remember NYCFC game, MLS is back. The names on the jerseys, fallen people from police brutality. So we have really done our due diligence of trying to, keep the voice being heard, right? Justin, I want to ask this, like, from the Red Bull perspective. Obviously, we don't care what Red Bull does, like, as far as the team wise, but like, if you're Red Bull, how does a guy like Van Zier, a guy like Subart, go in front of this team and get respect? Like, if you're Red Bull, you have to think long and hard. You may listen. They obviously don't care. Like you said, they genuinely don't care. They're a major energy drink corporation, no pun intended, but they just think of everything as money. There's a reason why they have 4 Red Bulls around the world. So, I mean, like, how do they gain respect from this club?
I don't genuinely think you can. Like, I think I know a lot of we have friends and Red Bull supporters, and it's got a lot of them conflicted, like, as to how to support their club. And also, like, listen. So the 6-game ban also includes Open Cup games, which I don't know how far they would advance, but in that window, in that time, it'll also include. So it'll be like 6 plus X amount of games, but it's really 6 games is league games. Like, I think when he comes back, again, this is a lot worse, almost as bad, if not worse, than the Taxi Fuentes situation from last year.
Yeah, man.
Aimed at now current Union center back Damian Lowe. And, like, I genuinely think I think a lot of teams are going to circle the game against the Red Bull when he comes back. And it's gonna get it's not gonna get ugly, but, like, if you're a player and you see Van Zier coming down, aren't you going to want to just give a little extra on a challenge, just a little something?
Nice Saprissa slide tackle.
Well, that's like just something, just that leaves a little bit of an impression, and it also again, it's not only a lack of respect from the Red Bull, it's a lack of respect that that it was basically the league was like, oh well, we'll let Red Bull handle this, and Red Bull was like, oh, we'll do an investigation, and no, they didn't do shit.
Real quick, Justin, because you brought it up. That was gonna be my next question for you. Do you think at some point the league should step into these type of situations?
Oh, I think the league should absolutely have protocols for this. At this point, you clearly 6 games for me is not enough. I think if Don Garber was smart, which I'm not claiming he is, I would say the MLS brass should sit down with the Black Players Coalition and set groundwork for punishments, suspension, fines, trainings for there is, I will say, despite the league fucking dropping the bag on this one and bottling any kind of response, there is room for growth. There is a learning. I mean, we have seen since the pandemic what the players are capable of putting together, and I think at this point it feels like it's going to be on the players to really force the league to do anything. So my hope would be that the players force a kind of change to the policy, because listen, there's not many of these situations that happen, but they shouldn't have it shouldn't be that many situations. And the fact that you have 2 now within a year, it kind of disappoints me for the teams, the league's response on both of them.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, obviously, I don't think that the situation is done. I mean, I really hope that it's not. We'll see what does happen. But obviously, like we said, social issues like this are important to all of us here at DOOP by the River and Philly Sports Network as a whole. So we'll continue talking about this type of stuff. So, I mean, definitely, we support all our Red Bull fans out there. I'm sure that they are not happy with what's going on. And so let's hope that the right thing does. There's still time. Right thing can still happen, Red Bull, despite your swing and misses out there. But we'll see what happens. But Justin, let's get to the action on the pitch here now for our boys in blue. 2 matches we need to talk about real quick. Let's just start off real quick with Cincinnati last Saturday in a big early Eastern Conference showdown, smacked right down the middle of a quarterfinal CCL with Atlas. So not the best time to bring this matchup up, but the Union did fall 1-0 to Cincinnati thanks to a 69th minute penalty kick. In that moment, Cincinnati was going to score regardless. Andre Blake had to make a decision. He took it. Can't be mad at it. Draws the foul in the box to Acosta. So obviously the penalty kick gets converted, but Union obviously went with more of a pragmatic, more conservative type of mindset. Let's start off with those lines because that'll kind of tell you the whole entire story of this match. Of course, though, however, as Justin would say, permanent marker Andre Blake in goal. Jim decided to run with what was a 3/5 back set, and I saw Justin. I liked your comment in the message in the comment section there, or the group chat.
It was, I got my back 3, but at what cost?
So
which I will stand by. I will absolutely stand by that statement.
So you had your wingbacks of Real and Bizo, not really the problem. The problem really was you had Glezis, Elliott, and Harriel as your 3 center backs. Your 3 in the midfield, Flock, Martinez, and Bueno, with your 2 forwards being Chris Donovan and Quinn Sullivan. Now, Union fans are really smart, so obviously, listen, just use your context clues. Obviously, this is not your best lineup put out there. And through the first, I would say up until the goal, honestly, the Union were just honestly playing for the draw. And that's what I could clearly tell. Justin, for you, takeaways from last Saturday, anything you want to bring up here for the Union?
It was weird because there wasn't a ton to learn because as soon as I saw the lineup, I'm like, you could easily tell you're like, oh, they're absolutely focused on Wednesday. Like it wasn't even a question. And I thought the Union for the most part were actually the better team. I thought they created a lot of chances. I definitely think they should have finished. I think the fact that it took a penalty, which I will say it was a weird sequence of events because like it felt like they were calling advantage and then they went back, even though the goal was scored, they went back to call the penalty. So like if Acosta had missed the penalty, which Andre guessed the right way, it was just a perfectly taken penalty. Like that would have been weird, and it would have definitely been, and that's kind of. But I thought the Union overall were creating the better chances. I definitely think they got themselves in the right situations. But when you rotated that heavily, you knew Jim was just gonna be like, all right, if we get a draw, great. If we smash and grab 3 points, whatever. Like you were absolutely looking ahead to Wednesday, and I don't blame you. Like that, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Would I have loved to play a full strength lineup against Cincinnati? Yeah, but as of course they're like, oh, we're the big, we're the big shit now. And listen, it was 1-0. They beat Union 1-0 on a heavily rotated on a PK, and in which, oh yeah, your other two of your front three didn't do fuck all. And by the way, loving the Brenner is bye in the summer to Udinese, which
So when does Udinese spend money like that? Like what? What's going on in
apparently
Italy?
they had a bid rejected in January, was around like 9 million. So I'm curious if it was higher.
What?
But I'll repeat what I said. If they lose, I said beginning of the season, if they lost any of the front three, they don't have forward depth.
You got
And
Sergio Santos who lasts you like 2 matches.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the rumors are that Brandon Vasquez and Acosta had rumors in the winter too.
I mean, that doesn't surprise
If
me.
they lose 2 of the 3 or even 3 of 3, they're completely screwed. They might have a great defense, but they'll be grinding out 1-0 games if they're lucky. And I think I'm sure Pat Noonan was not like, yeah, 3 points is great, but it really wasn't a convincing win. And I know I've been saying this a lot, that there's not really a lot you can learn, but because the Union are making this kind of a run in CCL at this point, like this is the second time in 3 years that you've made a run to the semifinals. That's harder than it looks. Like,
Yes.
and I've been saying this, like the first part of the season, like the Union, as long as they keep afloat, once the run's over, whenever that is, they can focus on the next phase of play, which to me, I think the Union could be prepared for once CCL is over, for Open Cup and league play, because I think that kind of falls right into their hands. But listen, the way it works with a lot of these CCL teams, and I said this last week, and I gotta get laughed at. It was like teams who play in CCL early on just predominantly don't do well in regular season play. I mean, you saw NYCFC last season. They were like dog shit the first few months.
Seattle, no? Last year?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and NYCFC, rescued their season. Seattle almost did. Theirs was a little, they dug themselves a bit farther of a hole because they won it.
Right.
But like, I just keep repeating it. There's not much to learn because you were focused on the other game in hands. Like, and that's kind of like, honestly, I would agree with Jim on that. I would do the same thing because like that's, you got to think which game's more important, a regular season game in early April, or like, I think you've got to kind of look at it and go, like, this is early enough in the season that you can recover in the regular season. You can recover in league play. That's short sweet of it. And the Union, also the Union the first few months are always kind of typically like so. Like it typically takes them to like May or June to kind of kick off.
Let's get to a nice
So it's Yeah, I mean, generally, I think the first few months is always tough to tell with the league play. But yeah, is a loss to Cincinnati great? No, but it was only 1-0. Rotated heavily. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not great, but it's not really the worst thing in the world.
The reality of it is this. You are in CCL, and that is the priority. It is obviously very conflicting because you want to win everything, and I completely sympathize with all the fans with that. I said going into Saturday's match was that if you're going to play more of a conservative, park the bus type of style, you're not going to the game. Although I do agree with you, they did look better because I think that the players that you had out there were hungry and did stand up to the test. But I mean, at the end of the day, the talent was going to show, and I think that that is what happened. And I even look at how that penalty kick happened. Dude, Leon Flock looked good in that match, and that's the thing. Everyone likes to kill a player for one play, but if you watch the full 90 minutes, dude, Leon was all over the fucking pitch, and it just took one play. He put Andre Blake in a tough spot, and that definitely blows. But yes, you do that because you have to go. You have to go all out on CCL. Later on down the line, I truly believe in Philly, we take care of business, especially with what is happening. Could they lose? Listen, if they lose 2 out of 3, it is done for Cincinnati. I'm sorry.
I mean, no, if they like I said, Brenner was and Brandon Vasquez, the one of the later rumors was in Borussia Mönchengladbach, and in the summer, listen, a club like that has already gambled on an American and Joe Scally and done pretty well. They have a
league as a whole. That league as a whole,
and they have Playa and they have Marcus Thuram, but one of those guys could go. They definitely are going to need a physical young talent, and Vasquez is already in great form. If he makes the run, if he goes over to Germany, I think that listen, we've been saying the U.S. number 9 race is wide open. And I genuinely think if he did that, look at Jordan Pefok. Despite his non-inclusion in the U.S., he's been having a pretty solid time in his first season with Union Berlin, and I think Americans heading over to there, especially one like Vasquez, who obviously with his time in Atlanta didn't really get much of a chance to get going, stuck behind Joseph Martinez, but. He was given the time, and it took him a year or two, but he's developed into a bona fide, solid, number 9. And if I'm Cincinnati, I would be the fact that they went into the season knowing that they had rumors, and offers for their players, and not really filling that with any talent that's going to be like, oh yeah, these guys can definitely step up consistently for a number of games. I would be starting to be concerned over the next few months if I'm an SC Cincinnati fan.
Absolutely, Ian. I love you, man. I really do, but I need you to watch every PK in the 2022 regular season. Don't look at the MLS Cup final because that was just a team thing that kind of collapsed. And then I need you to put on the second round Nashville-Philadelphia penalty kick shootout, and then you let me know. Dude, those situations, people think it's just a player, 2 players just go dude, that is high pressure. It's like I don't want to hear it, man. It's
especially if you look at that and I will speak as a goalie. The worst shot to have to worry about is the one that hits just inside the post, because Andre guessed the right way, but hey, guess what? He missed that thing by not even a quarter of an inch. And that's just how well it was placed. And you know what? Andre, in terms of active, PK shot stoppers, I think is up there with Tim Melia in terms of one of the best PK shot stoppers, current active goalies in the league. So
it's impressive. Honestly.
That's a rough take. I would definitely not agree with that one.
Definitely not, Ian. We still love you. One more question I want to ask you before we move on to Atlas. So look, I love Nathan Harriel, and I really appreciate everything that he's done. He's been very selfless this year. He has to play on the opposite side where he's not really comfortable. He does it without any questions. They put him at center back, probably not the most comfortable. He does it without any questions. But my question is, why aren't we trying Brandon Craig? Like I feel like in that type of situation, Lowe's dealing with a little nagging injury. We get it. Where is Craig? Because when I watch Craig now, granted, it's been like U20s and it's been like spring training, preseason. He looks like he belongs. So I'm just like curious, like why are we putting Harriel above Craig in the depth chart of center back?
I don't think it's a question of putting him above in terms of depth. I just think, listen, throwing Brandon Craig in against Cincinnati on the road when you've really rotated your roster, I don't think that's a great, like, I understand wanting to throw him in and to get him experience, but to me, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. And like, I don't think it's not a knock on Brandon Craig. As I've been saying, Nate Harriel is, I believe the team's best 1v1 defender. And I just think if you're gonna still throw in, Jack and Jakob, listen, you didn't have Kai. You were gonna use Olivier as a wing back / you're gonna use Matt Real. You're gonna need to use, like, the only other option there is Nate. And I can understand Jim's justification because, again, he said it that Nate is one of the team's best 1v1 defenders. So it's definitely not a knock on Brandon Craig. I just think any other team, maybe you throw Brandon Craig in there. I as a Cincinnati side like that, I don't know if I would have felt comfortable throwing him to the wolves, quote unquote.
I agree with your logic there, and obviously Jim doesn't like to throw too many young guys like that into the fire. But at what point do we do it? And that's pretty much my question. Because again, what I've seen from Craig, he does belong, but these guys also do need the seasoning as well. So we'll remain to see, but we'll see about that. But listen, you move on. We go to Tuesday night or Wednesday night. I'm sorry, in Guadalajara. It's leg 2. Nervous as all heck. And so as far as the starting lineup went in that one, pretty much we lined up with the top dogs. You had Andre Blake in goal. Had Wagner finally come back to play after missing was like the last 2 matches with that hamstring. You had Mbaizo on the other side, Glazes and Elliott as your center backs, the main 4 in the midfield, Flock at the left. I'm sorry, McGlynn at the left this time. You had Brujo Martinez at the 6. You had Ali at the right, Gazek at the tip of the diamond with Carranza and Ure as your 2 forwards up top. And unfortunately, in the 11th minute, things got a little dicey as Quiñones would find Herrera in the box, and Herrera kind of loses his grounding. Quiñones would find the ball, buries it behind Andre Blake for the early 1-0 lead. The Union would capitalize after that as Julian Carranza would score 1 of his 2 in his brace performance. This one was just absolutely a great play by Jack McGlynn, who just sails his ball into the box with his opposite foot. Carranza doing a great job controlling it, getting past Juan Hernandez for the 1-1 draw. And things at that point were back on our favor. We're back in the driver's seat with the away goal. Right before halftime, though, however, you get the Julio Furch goal. Was it Barbosa gets this beautiful pass over Kai Wagner. Herrera gets the ball on a 1v1 situation. Herrera gets the best out of Kai Wagner, and Furch wide open gets the goal. It's 2-1 at halftime, but the Union in the second half turn it up to another level, and they would pay off in the 78th minute off a good counterattack. Great job by Leon Flock winning the ball, and Gazek kind of just flips the ball over just last second right into the box. Only Carranza who buries that bad boy, and that would put the stamp on the win. The Philadelphia Union. This, Justin, was not easy whatsoever. To go down there to get 2 goals. That's all. You just needed 1 goal, really, but you got 2 goals. It was a tight one, but the Union grinded out and got the freaking up. I think what I gained more away from that performance, Justin, was the mental toughness that they displayed on Wednesday night. What were your takeaways from Wednesday?
I mean, it. I will right off the bat. I kept emphasizing it that yeah, it was only a 1-0 result at home, but with CCL, unlike in UEFA Champions League, away goals mean something, and all it would take was one, because then you force the onus on Atlas to have to put two more. And so, yeah, you go down, to that goal. Quinquinho is not great. Carranza, once again, another, one of two VAR checks, and rightfully so, to award the goal. And from there, I think the Union were really in the driver's seat. Yeah, Furch, he's a big body. He absolutely really made the back line really work. And on that goal, Jack Elliott was stretched a bit, but the Union defense was a bend not break, and the Union just in the second half, I think they really got on the front foot. They were really forcing Atlas to defend. They just kept going and going and going, and one goal was already big. It was like, okay. Then you get that second. You get Carranza's second. I mean, that's an absolute dagger. Because at that point, you are up 3-2. You then and Atlas needed in the last 15 minutes or so, you needed 2 goals. And it was, the Union after that goal, subs, Julian off. They started making the right changes. And then Rocha, in probably, and I said this in our chat, the quickest red card I have ever seen. Like, the fact that, like, what you have to do to the ref to have the ref hold up the yellow and still be in his face, still barking, still just jawing and jawing and jawing, and the ref didn't even have to put the card down. He just reissued it and pulled out the red and told him to get off. Like, and then he was surprised at that. Like, now the officiating hadn't been great in either leg, but like, well done to the official because that was bad. And listen, like, it was self-inflicted, man. Like, they genuinely, the Union played their game. They knew what they needed to do. They knew they needed to get at least one goal to really force it. And I thought they played pretty well. Once again, I am really disappointed. Not that I had any expectation for the Atlas fans, but if you were watching the game and the announcers made a very, very clear mark of it, yeah, they said that word that you're not supposed to say, that the Mexican Federation has literally gotten in trouble for and had to play closed door games and gotten fined a lot because they said it, what was it, at least 3 times in like 2 minutes, and then proceeded to say it several more times. And Conga, I think their whatever insane thinking was that because of CONCACAF's rules that after a certain amount of times you have to stop the game, and maybe they thought, if they stop the game, then they can't play it, and I mean, whatever bullshit logic that would be. And I'm not going to try to do the mental gymnastics on that one because my brain already hurts enough as it is. Listen, I talked to my dad about this last night, and I was up, and my dad was like, oh, he was up for the first half and then fell asleep and then woke up towards the end of the game. And my dad said, he goes, this is probably the best game he's seen from the Union all season. And honestly, I would probably agree. I think you saw the way that this team came together just on the road in a very hostile environment. Like, going down to Guadalajara, going down to Atlas, like, that was a hostile environment. And this This is CONCACAF. Like, you're gonna go into these type of environments, and in the past, and they said this in the broadcast, in the past, MLS teams would have been over, and they would have rolled over, and they really would have really not done anything. And I think the past few years, especially with Seattle winning last year, goes to show that time is over. MLS teams are not rolling over when they travel to these games. And listen, if they had changed the away goals rule, the Union still in the driver's seat. They won the game 3-2 on aggregate.
It's true.
But the fact that they still had the away goals rule, while I don't necessarily agree with the away goals rule, it emphasized that 1-0 result at home, because then one goal is all you need to force the issue.
Yeah.
And overall, unfortunately, you had injuries to Kai. I don't think he was 100% ready. There was some injury concern with Olivier. I don't believe his was too serious. But overall, I think the Union played one of their best games of the season, and it was rightfully so why they rotated so heavily for Cincinnati. But I was thoroughly impressed with the effort that the boys in blue put down in Guadalajara.
I mean, like, for me, like, my main concern has been the attack, and I felt like they were tenacious. I mean, I think they had, if I saw correctly, like 5 shots on goal on Atlas. Double check there, but no, I just thought overall, like, they went in there with a mission, and it was a very gutsy performance. That's what really made me feel proud of these guys. Like you said, it was a hostile environment. I mean, wouldn't surprise me if there was a bag of piss thrown on the pitch or something, but it was that type of atmosphere. Justin, it has to, like, drive Mexican soccer fans crazy, that the fact that it doesn't feel that daunting for us MLS clubs anymore to go down there. And that probably what irates them even worse.
I think it used to be a fortress. I think traveling down to Central America early on in CCL used to be a horrifying thought for a lot of these teams. And I just don't like. I think the quality of the play from MLS to this point, Liga MX has bigger budgets and all that, but after a certain few number of teams, the quality of play is not, I don't think, is better than the MLS.
Right.
And I think it's very much showing that the cream of the crop, the teams that are left, LAFC, the Union, one of the two MLS sides is going to be in the final. And I think it very much is like, you're looking at it going, I mean, honestly, the way that the MLS side is going, you could have had potentially at least 3 if the way things had gone. So overall, MLS play in CCL has thoroughly improved over the years, and Seattle winning it last year was historic, was a landmark, and I think it's kind of a threshold, a breaking point now, and I think the dam will open up, and MLS sides will start to do much better overall. I mean, listen, LAFC nearly did it in the COVID year, and they nearly were very close. I just genuinely think that they overall, MLS play is much improved, and the Union did what they absolutely needed to do in a way that I don't think past teams would have done. So it was a well fought, hard earned draw and a win on aggregate, and what a contest. That was a juggernaut of a threshold, and we're not even getting that's not even including the potential juggernaut, the juggernaut matchup that we're gonna have in a few weeks' time.
I can't wait to talk about that one, man. Justin, do you think that there will ever be a worse fan base than what we've dealt with Atlas for the last 2 weeks?
I don't think so. Like,
that was the worst demonstration of fandom I've ever seen in my life.
Like, even Club America fans for the most part, we're actually pretty cool. We're pretty
That
chill.
day was different in Chester, but other than that, dude, the amount of crap that we've seen in comment sections, like it's disgusting and it's upsetting because
It's horrifying.
these are human beings, we think, on the other side, and all they can think about is just violence in their soccer team. And it was honestly freaking ridiculous to bring up drug addiction. It's an issue that we have here in our city that we're trying to get through, and they want to bring this up. They want to make 9/11 jokes, death threats. Like I'm honestly still shocked at what we saw over the last 2 weeks. I just really hope we don't go through that. I mean, we still haven't. I mean, who knows if MLS will ever play in Copa Libertadores? Obviously, Club World Cup is something we have to.
God, could you imagine? You know,
Dude.
like the Union traveling down to Palmeiras or River Plate, like God, that or Boca Junior. Oh my God, like or Racing Club, like dude, I don't know if I could. Like, first off, if they face River Plate, that might break our pal Tommy's brain.
Tommy, I was going there first class, man.
But I don't know, man. Like that would be wild. That would be my next hope. Like, but yeah, man. Like Club World Cup. That like the fact that MLS side was in the Club World Cup, facing off against like the likes of Al Hilal and there's Real Madrid and it's like holy shit. Like there's an MLS side in there. Like just kind of wild.
We're going places. One more question. This will kind of lead into Chicago. Where's Andres Pereira? I've been thinking about this. Like, we haven't seen him since Orlando. And like, I know Ali is extremely important and he's going to get his minutes, but I mean, like, we're at the point now where, like, you can interchange Leon and Jack, and you can interchange Ali and Andres.
I mean, I don't think it's. As far as I'm aware, of anything he did, and I don't know. I mean, I also think you need to give Jesus Bueno time because Jesus Bueno's been playing well. Like, it's not anything that.
It's just
like,
a log.
I just think we have this. We have this idea that if a player isn't playing for a certain amount of games, it means that they've fallen in the pecking order or they're in Jim's doghouse. Or I just think that given the rotation, I mean, Jesus Bueno has been getting games because he's filled in pretty admirably in CCL. So and listen, Andres Pereira did well in the last round. I just think it's like with this roster, there's gonna be times where you're gonna complain one player's not playing over the other. Like the way the midfield is, you're gonna have to rotate a lot. You're gonna have to kind of I think Andres will get his games. I who knows? I think he could play this upcoming weekend. Like who knows? I think that's the thing. You have to look at it from the amount of games. I've been saying this this season. The amount of games they're playing, it requires a bigger finesse of the roster tinkering than you've ever had to do in past seasons. And I think this season is weirder than the others because there's way more competitions. And so, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. Like, I don't know. I'm not too worried. I think he will get his time. I think he'll get plenty of minutes. And I think you'll see. I mean, listen, Ali may get a rest this weekend. So, like, who knows? I'm not very worried, despite what I know people have been talking about that, and there have been talks, but I haven't heard anything that would indicate that Andres has fallen out of favor for any particular reason.
It was for me. It was just weird because he was just playing really well. He came off of the Orlando game match where he was one of the best players, despite that loss, and then like you just haven't seen him since then. So that's where I brought up the question of where he's been in the rotation. But I mean, I agree with the fact that it is tough for Jim. It's a good problem to have because you just have a logjam. You have guys who are deserving of minutes. I mean, even a guy like Joaquin Torres starts off his tenure here with the Union guns a-blazing. He didn't get time last 2 matches. He hasn't gone out to Cincinnati and Atlas. He didn't go out there. But yeah, it's a tough job for Jim, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And, you know, every player should not be complacent. You got to go out there in every training, every match, and you got to go out there and play your all because everyone's fighting for jockeying or for positioning here in this depth chart. But let's look at this matchup here Saturday, Justin. Saturday, 8:30, we'll be in Soldier Field against the Fire. And it's not as guaranteed as a victory. Obviously, number one, our form in MLS is taking a step back because of CCL. And number two, Justin, it's the Red Hot Fire, 4 unbeaten. They're going to the MLS Cup, Justin.
let's slow that roll. Like, let's put that thing on ice.
But can I put this statement out there? In 2020, speaking of CCL, in 2021, Kasper Schmeichel is winning Golden Boot. Fast forward 2 years later, and now Kai Kamara, who granted has had a fantastic MLS career, took the man's job. Dude, Kai's been playing pretty solid here for Chicago, man.
Yeah, it's been kind of weird. Like, you look at it and you're kind of going like, they're not the worst team, but again, that's not saying a lot. Like, they also are not playing in any other competitions right now, except for, they'll be soon playing in Open Cup. But like, hey, it is what it is at this point. Like, it's not like they haven't really beat. They beat Miami, who after their hot start have dropped like a stone.
Dude, what happened, man?
Yeah, Phil Neville. People remember that Phil Neville's not a good coach.
Well, I mean, it's funny because their last loss was ironically to us when they were in Chester. The Fabi Herbers read. They drew to Cincy, beat in Miami, drew to DC, and then just beat Minnesota last weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it's a 4-game unbeaten streak, but like you said, and really they're not beating any world beaters out there.
Yeah, and like their game against NYCFC have kind of been all over the place as well.
That is true.
It, especially this early in the season too, you got to take a lot of games with a grain of salt. The Union, again, even not at their best, still beat Chicago. Cincinnati, they're top, but like they've been inconsistent in those victories. Like there's been a few victories that could have been losses. Miami, again, after a great start, dropped like a stone. DC's got their own issues. And Minnesota, I don't know like what's going on with Minnesota. I mean, the whole thing losing Reynoso.
That was a wild story, dude.
Was wild. And I mean, Minnesota is in 5th, but like they're not scoring a lot and they're not giving up a lot of goals. So like, and looking at Chicago's goal differential, it's 1.
Yeah.
Like a third of those goals came in that crazy game against Cincinnati. Like I don't know, it's just weird. There's not much to go on right now.
Yeah, so keep in mind as well, right now on the injury report for Chicago, Jairo Torres, Federico Navarro, and of course our boy Shaqiri is also on that injury list. So
Jairo Torres actually at this point played at this point he always feels like he's on the injury report because like he was hurt. He played like a game, maybe he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's supposed to be this young. He's supposed to be this young winger, I believe, ironically from Outlast, if I remember correctly. And just dude's been hurt. Like every time I like look over, like it just feels like he's always hurt.
I'm pretty sure the last time we played Chicago, Federico Navarro and Jairo Torres were both on the injury report. But yeah, it's been a problem for him to kind of stay healthy. But I mean, when it comes to Chicago, obviously defensively, there are mishaps that they do have. It's not strong. It hasn't really gotten any better. And of course, in their attack, they do have some options, but it's not always consistent. I mean, like, last year you had the Chris Mueller match where
when he put Kai on skates for that 1 goal, like,
and also the field quality was crap, and the Union couldn't pull the ball. Yeah, like the Union couldn't pull the ball out of anything. But yeah, like the fact that they had to trade for Kai Kamara, like
first of all, they wasted $1 million+ on Casper, who could have told Chicago that I think he's just bad. But like Kai Kamara, like the dude has been on. At this point, the dude has a punch card for MLS clubs, and his 10th one, he gets a free snow cone or frosty or icy. I don't know what.
Dude,
what
I
like,
have to look this up now. How many
he's
clubs
their
he
leading
actually
scorer
played
on
for?
3 goals. Like Chris Mueller has 2. Then you have center back Fabian Herbers, Kasper Schmeichel, and Tehran. You got rid of one of your best scorers last year, and the young Colombian. Like it's, I don't know. You can't exactly look at Chicago and be like, oh no, they're really difficult. It's like, yeah, they're not as bad as we thought they were, but they're not really that much better either.
All right, so get this, Justin. Ready? So 2006-2007, 2 seasons with Columbus. That's one team. 2008, San Jose, and then obviously they moved to Houston. So I guess that's 2 clubs.
I would say 1.
All right, that's because San Jose that was just a move. 2. All right. Sporting KC 3, and then he goes to Norwich for a loan. Middlesbrough, then Middlesbrough comes back, still with Columbus. That's still 3. New England 4, Vancouver 5, Colorado 6, Minnesota 7, Montreal 8. He's on his 9th MLS club, my dude. This is
so at this point, he needs to get traded again this season to make it at even 10. Or if you want to be technical and call MLS Houston 2 different clubs, he's at 10. I don't know how you want to rule that, but like,
hey man, I mean, listen, it's not. You look at that and like, I mean, listen, people will be like, oh, he's, he must have an attitude or something. No, Kai Kamara is one of the weird cases where he's just really good at scoring. I mean, there's a reason he's third on the goal charts in all time MLS goals, and behind Wando and Landon Donovan. It's crazy. Like a dude who's moved around that long. There's a reason, because like he was traded to Minnesota in the hopes to help them make the playoffs, and
that's what you
like
get
he's. Like in Columbus, when he went back to Columbus, he was a big part of them making it to the MLS Cup final. And like,
that's right.
You look at a player like that, and yeah, he's been around a lot. But like, if you're relying on a 38-year-old Kai Kamara,
man,
that's not great. That's not ideal. It's not something sustainable, because he's not. If you think he's going to stay healthy for the whole season, that's a big risk.
So I mean, it's not like a daunting task, but how do you envision our club slowing down? Because it does feel like Kai is the big key here for Chicago. How do you slow that down?
You just got to gum up the middle. They're going to cross it in. He's great at headers. You have to force him into the crosses, because the Union have the height in their center backs to deal with it. If you force the play on the wings and keep it on the wings, do not allow them to cut in, force them to cross it. The Union have done well when they force teams to just try to cross it in. I think I've been saying, don't let teams go through the middle, because that's when you look at the game against Orlando. That's when teams do better. And I think if you're going to allow someone to walk right down Main Street, yeah, they're going to have pretty good chances. So, especially with Chicago, yeah, their goal came off the wing, but Kai also got spun. Mueller cut in and was pretty central when he hit that shot.
Yeah.
So looking at that and looking at the way they've been playing this year, I think you just got to make it ugly, and the Union can do ugly well. I mean, 1-0 in that game on a deflected goal with a young goalie. I mean, that's how you got to do it, and just try to get out with at least a point.
I think that is the name of the game. I mean, that was an emotional match last night for the Union. And I mean, I know a lot of people think it's still Chicago, but I mean, this is still the MLS. You still got to travel. We still got to play in an NFL stadium. Chicago are feeling themselves a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, win for sure, but I don't think it's as guaranteed because of just the circumstances at hand. With that being said, though, Justin, I mean, rotation is big yet again this upcoming weekend. And obviously, we all do want the 3 points, but you do want to rest up some of these players. I mean, obviously, Andre back in goal, but what does this back line even look like? Is Kai 100%?
No, I would not risk Kai. I
wouldn't
think
either.
I think if Kai is, I think he could be on the bench. Maybe. I mean, maybe they just took him out for precaution. I would try to rest him up for Toronto next week if you could save him for then. Or if not, you save him for the first home leg against LAFC. Your back line, I think it's gonna be Matt Real. If I were Jim, I mean, I don't know. Was Damien on the bench for last night?
I don't think so. He was in the injury report for last night. And
I mean, maybe they were keeping him out. So
right.
So all right, if you have to play both of them, I would say Jack and Jakob. If you can rotate, I would say Jakob and Damien to rotate, and then obviously Nate in at right back. I mean, I don't know the extent of Olivier's injury. I know he got subbed off. In the midfield, it's where I think I'm going to make some rotations. I'm going to say Jesus Bueno at the 6. I think you give El Brujo a rest. I think you put Leon at one side and Jack McGlynn on the other.
Okay.
You put Daniel Gazdag in. I don't see any reason why you couldn't. And then I would say Carranza and Torres because Uwa did go a full 90.
Dude, can we talk about that real quick?
Which was honestly impressive. And he looked good right into the end. Like I will give him credit.
Great,
I think when he knows how to space out his runs, and I think when he knows because sometimes he'll tire himself out by the 65th minute.
Right.
But he was still making consistent runs towards the end. But I just think you're gonna want to give him a bit of a break. And you did sub off Uli, and you gave him a little bit of rest. I think you could throw him in. And Joaquin hasn't played in a little bit. See, at that point, it wouldn't surprise me if they did the Christmas tree. And I mean it would work against a team like Chicago. I think you got to mix it up a little bit. And I love me that Christmas tree. I also love me that back 3. So who knows? I genuinely think they'll go with the 4-3-2-1 just to kind of again solidify things and like I said when we had Casper, oh wait, we actually have a striker that can play the Christmas tree and I think that would be so yeah. That would be my lineup for a little bit of rotation. But you still have a bit of the big guns, and you still have the guys able to come off the bench.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, Justin, how you feeling about Saturday? Give me your thoughts. Give me the prediction.
It's gonna be an interesting game. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to watch it. I am gonna be down the shore.
Hey,
it's my one of my best friend Matt's birthday on Sunday. So on Saturday we are
shouts to Matt
doing a ghost tour down in Cape May.
Nice, dude.
So that'll be fun. But I think the key, and as we saw in Chester, I think the key to getting at the Chicago team is just playing through the channels. I think once you started to kind of get in behind and you really started to play through the middle, once you got past the midfield, that space in between the midfield and the defense was open. And if you can control the midfield, if you can really establish a play, I think Jesus Bueno would be perfect for this and allow Leon to clean up and free him of the responsibilities of the 6 in the way that our formation typically is and allow Jesus to really establish the play. It's going to be a very low-scoring game. I would be surprised if there were more than 2 goals. I'm going to go 1-0 Union. I think it's going to be an ugly result. I think it's going to be you're going to yeah, you're going to smash and grab. It could also be nil. Like I'm hoping for a win, but I would not be surprised at a draw.
Joaquin Torres gets a 93rd minute goal again.
Oh, that'd be fucking hilarious. it would be Joaquin, the Joaquin Torres, the Argentinian firefighter,
Dude,
to quench that fire.
he's gonna be hated in Chicago if he does that again, man. And Chris
Listen,
Brady's been the guy in between pipes for Chicago, from what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a great. He had a decent game against the Union. Obviously, the goal he gave up was
That was tough, man.
a howler of the extreme. But I think you're going to have that with a young guy like that. So I don't think he'll do that again. But it'd be funny if Joaquin Torres just like. I mean, listen, certain players seem to be hated in various parts of the league and apparently the continent. So listen, why not lean into it? Why not just give him a little razzle dazzle, Joaquin?
It's Aaron Rodgers and it's Joaquin Torres from my
I guess Aaron Rodgers, like Dante Culpepper, and Joaquin Torres. So
There you go, man.
List.
There you go, man. All right, awesome stuff. Well, Justin, man, you have fun down, and so you're going between Wildwood and Cape May, or you're just
So my buddy's wife, her grandparents have a house down in Wildwood.
Nice.
So we'll be staying there. Having some adult beverages. So doing a little fun, ghost tour. And so it'll be fun. So I think despite my love for soccer, I think even yours truly does need sometimes a little bit of a separation from soccer.
Apple TV, like the replays, it's been such clutchness, man. Like I literally, if I want to rewatch a match, just go on Apple TV. You can rewatch it. It is so clutch, man. That I mean, we've been debating like the whole like price wise, it's been worth it or whatnot. But I mean, I've been enjoying Apple TV so far. It's been somewhat convenient. So, Justin, enjoy your time down there Saturday. Everyone enjoy their time as well. I'll also be celebrating. For everyone who's wondering, it's Miss Barcelo Philly's birthday week. So her birthday was Tuesday. So we'll be doing some on Saturday. Of course, Sixers on first for she knows the deal, and then we'll be doing whatever she wants. So Justin and I will both be enjoying the Union from afar. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. But that's going to do it for this edition of DOOP by the Road. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe for all your future viewings here on El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel. Find us wherever you stream podcasts under DOOP by the Road Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin Quick Red Rocha Friedberg. Of course, I go by the name El Parcero Philly.